The dust on 7 never settled. It hung in the air like a brown fog, making everything look old and dead. Corporal wiped his visor for the third time that hour and kept walking. His boots crunched on the dry ground. Behind him, 5 other human soldiers followed in a loose line, their rifles ready but pointed down. They were peacekeepers. That was the fancy word the Galactic Council used. Really, they were just humans trying not to get killed while 2 alien races fought over a moon nobody wanted. The end had been at war for 3 years now. Humans got hired because neither side trusted the other, but both sides thought humans were too weak to matter. That was fine with. Being underestimated kept you alive. His radio crackled. It was the sniper walking 20 meters to his right. Got structures ahead, looks abandoned. Raised his fist and the squad stopped. He pulled out his scanner and checked the readings. No heat signatures, no movement, just old buildings that the war had chewed up and spit out. Let's check it anyway, standard sweep pattern. They moved into what used to be a settlement. The buildings were made of something that looked like blue coral, all curved and smooth. Architecture. The aquatic aliens liked things that reminded them of their ocean worlds. Now the structures were full of holes. Burn marks covered the walls. Whatever happened here happened fast and violent. His heart started beating faster. He had seen places like this before, back on Earth during the resource wars. He knew what came next. "Stay sharp," he said into his radio. They found the bodies in the central plaza. Dozens of them. Men, women, children, all with their blue-green skin and large black eyes, all dead. The smell hits nose even through his helmet filters, sweet and rotten at the same time. The engineer made a choking sound. "Oh God." "Control yourself," said, but his voice was softer than his words. This was her first deployment, her first time seeing what war really looked like when the cameras were turned off. The demolitions expert was already scanning the scene. Plasma burns, weapons. This was maybe 2 days ago. Nodded the used plasma, the used sonic weapons. This looked like an attack, but something felt wrong. The bodies were arranged too neatly. The damage was too focused. This did not look like a battle, it looked like an execution. "Sir," called from across the plaza, "you need to see this." Jogged over, was standing outside a small building, probably a home. The door was hanging by one hinge. Inside could see overturned furniture and scattered belongings, and in the corner pressed against the wall was a child. She was small, maybe the size of a human 5-year-old. Her skin was pale blue, lighter than most had seen. Her large eyes watched them with no emotion, like she had used up all her fear and had nothing left. She wore a simple gray dress that was torn and dirty. Her small hands clutched a piece of cloth, maybe a blanket. Slowly lowered his rifle and held up his hands. "Easy, we're not going to hurt you." The translator on his chest beeped as it converted his words to language. The child did not move, did not speak. He took a step forward. The child flinched but stayed where she was, trapped between fear of him and fear of being alone. Knew that feeling. He had felt it himself once, a long time ago, in a burning city on Earth. "It's okay," he said quietly. "You're safe now." Another step forward. His squad stayed back, giving him space. The child's nose moved, the small slits opening and closing. Had a strong sense of smell. They could detect emotions through pheromones, or so the briefing said. Did not know what she was smelling on him. Probably sweat and fear and 3 days without a shower. Then something unexpected happened. The child's eyes went wide. She dropped the cloth and scrambled forward. Before could react, she crashed into him, her small arms wrapping around his leg. She pressed her face against his armor and made a sound between a sob and a sigh. "Whoa," said behind him, "that's new." Stood very still, not sure what to do. The child was clinging to him like he was the last solid thing in the universe. He could feel her shaking. Slowly, carefully, he reached down and patted her head. Her hair felt like wet silk. The translator crackled. The child was speaking, her voice muffled against his armor. "Home, you smell like home." His blood went cold. That made no sense. Humans and were nothing alike. They evolved on different worlds, breathed the same air but ate different food, saw different colors. There was no way he smelled like anything familiar to her. "What's her name?" asked, stepping closer. Activated his translator's query mode. "What's your name, little one?" The child pulled back just enough to look up at him. Her eyes were too big, too dark, like looking into deep water. She whispered, "Okay, my name is, we're going to get you out of here. Can you walk?" She shook her head and tightened her grip on his leg. Appeared at his shoulder, speaking quietly. "Sir, we should move. Those bodies are fresh. Whoever did this might still be around." Knew he was right. Standing around in the open was a good way to get killed, but would not let go, and he was not about to pry a terrified child off his leg and drag her along. He had done a lot of things in his life he was not proud of, but he was not doing that. "Scan the area, full spectrum. I want to know if anything larger than a rat is within 2 kilometers. He looked down at. "I'm going to pick you up now, okay? We need to move." She nodded against his armor, bent down and scooped her up. She weighed almost nothing, light as a bundle of blankets. She immediately wrapped her arms around his neck and buried her face in the gap between his helmet and chest plate. That spot where the armor did not quite connect, where his skin was exposed to the air. "Home," she whispered again. "You smell like home." His throat tightened. He thought about his sister, small and scared, calling for him in a burning apartment while he fought through crowds to reach her. He thought about arriving too late. He thought about a lot of things he tried not to think about anymore. "Let's move," he said, his voice rough. "Back to base, double time." They moved through the dead settlement in formation, weapons up, scanning every shadow. Stayed quiet against chest, one small hand twisted in his uniform. He could feel her heartbeat, fast like a bird's. Could feel her breath against his neck. The dust of 7 swirled around them as they walked. Above, the sky was gray and empty. Behind them, the dead waited in silence. And in his arms, a small alien child clung to a human soldier and believed she had found home in a place where nothing lived and nothing grew. Did not understand it, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He was not letting go, not this time, not ever. The human forward operating base was not much to look at. Prefabricated buildings made of gray metal, surrounded by walls and watchtowers. Everything had a temporary feel, like it could be packed up and moved in a day. That was by design. Peacekeepers did not build permanent structures. Permanent meant you planned to stay, and staying meant picking sides. Carried through the main gate while his squad dispersed to file reports and clean weapons. Soldiers stopped to stare as he walked past. A human carrying a child was not something you saw every day. Some pointed, some whispered, ignored them all and headed straight for the medical bay. Doctor was elbow-deep in supplies when he walked in. She looked up, saw, and her expression shifted from annoyance to concern in half a second. "What happened?" "Found her in the settlement, only survivor. She needs checking." Tried to sit down on the examination table, but the child's grip tightened around his neck. She made a small, distressed sound. "It's okay," he said softly. "The doctor needs to look at you, make sure you're not hurt." Pulled back just enough to look at his face. Her large black eyes searched his features, looking for something. Trust, maybe, or a reason to believe things would be all right. After a long moment, she loosened her grip and let him place her on the table. Doctor approached slowly, her hands visible and empty. "Hello, I'm just going to run some scans. It won't hurt." She pulled out a medical scanner and passed it over the child's body. Numbers and graphs appeared on the screen. No injuries. She's dehydrated and malnourished, but nothing critical. Physically, she'll be fine. And mentally, asked. His expression darkened. She watched her entire settlement get massacred. She'll need trauma counseling, assuming we can find someone who specializes in psychology. In the meantime, keep her calm and safe. Routine helps. Familiar faces help. As if to prove the point, reached out toward. He stepped closer and she grabbed his hand, holding it tight. She's attached to you, observed. Any idea why? She said I smell like home. Doesn't make sense. His eyebrows rose. She said what? She picked up her and started typing rapidly. Have advanced olfactory systems. They communicate partially through pheromones, but human and biology are completely different. There's no overlap in our chemical signatures. Let me run some tests. She took samples from both ends. Blood, skin cells, saliva. Then she fed everything into the medical computer and waited. Watched the whole process with quiet intensity, never letting go of his hand. The computer beeped, read the results and went very still. That's impossible. What? Human stress pheromones. The ones we produce when we're protecting someone, when we're being parental. They're nearly identical to parental bonding pheromones. Not similar. Identical, down to the molecular structure. Stared at her. That can't be random. It's not. This is convergent evolution taken to an extreme. Two species, evolved on opposite sides of the galaxy, producing the exact same chemical signals for the exact same purpose. The odds against this are astronomical. So when smells me, she thinks I'm family. Not thinks, knows. On an instinctual level, her brain is telling her you're a parent figure, someone safe, someone who will protect her. Looked at, who was now leaning against side. She imprinted on you because her biology told her to trust you. Before could respond, the door opened. Captain Min walked in, his face set in hard lines. He was a tall man, thin and serious, with gray starting to show in his black hair. He looked then at Doctor. Report. Explained the situation while Min listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he said, "This is a problem." "Sorry." "We're peacekeepers, Corporal, neutral observers. If word gets out that we're sheltering a child, it becomes a political incident. They will accuse us of taking sides. They will demand we hand her over. Either way, we lose our neutrality." Felt pressed closer against him. "With respect, sir, she's a child, not a political pawn. In this war, everyone is a political pawn, including us." Min rubbed his face, suddenly looking very tired. "I'll contact headquarters and see what they say. Until then, she's your responsibility. Keep her out of sight and keep her quiet." He left without waiting for a response. Looked down at who was watching him with those two large eyes. "Looks like you're stuck with me." She did not answer, just held his hand. The next few days fell into a strange routine. Was off active duty while command figured out what to do with, so he spent his time in his quarters with her. She barely spoke, did not play, did not cry. She just stayed close to him, always touching, always watching. At night she had nightmares. She would wake up gasping and would hold her until the shaking stopped. He sang her songs his sister used to like, old Korean lullabies his mother taught him. Did not understand the words, but the melody seemed to help. She would eventually fall back asleep, her face pressed against his chest, breathing in whatever it was that told her she was safe. During the day, other soldiers would visit. Brought her a small wooden toy he carved, a bird with spread wings. Rigged up a translator earpiece sized for a child, so could understand everyone without having to relay everything. Even stopped by, gruff and uncomfortable, carrying a ration bar that he claimed was the good kind with chocolate. Accepted their gifts with solemn nods but never strayed far from. He was her anchor, her home. On the fourth day arrived. She was an intelligence officer, sharp-eyed and sharper-minded, with a reputation for finding information others missed. She did not bother with pleasantries. "We need to talk about the massacre." Had been expecting this. He gestured for her to sit while colored on a head programmed with drawing software. "What about it?" The weapons used were plasma rifles. The burn patterns matched their military models, but something's wrong with the timing. A patrol was spotted 3 sectors away when the attack happened. They couldn't have made it to the settlement and back in time. Someone wanted it to look like an attack. Felt cold, a false flag operation. Yes, I dug into the settlement records. Parents were scientists, high-level researchers working on something called the Resonance Project. That's all I could find before the files were scrubbed. Whatever they were working on, someone wanted it buried, along with everyone who knew about it, including their daughter. Especially their daughter. If she overheard anything, saw anything, she's a loose end. Glanced at, who was drawing what looked like an ocean with strange fish. You need to be careful. Someone out there wants her dead, and they're willing to kill an entire settlement to make it happen. After left, sat on the floor next to. She looked up from her drawing and tilted her head, a question in her eyes. I won't let anything happen to you, he said quietly. I promise. She set down and climbed into his lap, small and fragile and trusting. She pressed her face against his neck and breathed deep. Home, she whispered. Wrapped his arms around her and held on tight. Somewhere out there, people were hunting this child. They had killed her family, destroyed her home, and they would not stop until she was gone too. But they would have to go through him first, and had learned a long time ago how to stand his ground, how to fight, how to protect the things that mattered, even when everything else was falling apart. He had failed once before. He would not fail again. Not this time. The attack came on a Tuesday night local time. Was teaching a card game when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flooded his quarters. His radio exploded with voices, all talking at once. Perimeter breach north wall. We have incoming fire. Multiple contacts, unknown hostiles. Was moving before his brain caught up. He grabbed his rifle from the wall and scooped up with his other arm. She made a frightened sound but did not fight him. 7 days together had taught her to trust his movements, even the sudden ones. He keyed his radio. Here, what's the situation? Captain Min's voice came back, tight with stress. Mixed force and working together. That's not supposed to happen. They're targeting the residential block. Your block. His blood turned to ice. Thereafter. Get to the extraction point. East bunker now. The building shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Somewhere close, something exploded. Ran into the hallway and found chaos. Soldiers rushing in both directions, some toward the fighting, others helping with evacuation. Smoke was already filling the air. Appeared from a side corridor, his rifle up. This way, clearing a path to the bunker. They moved fast, leading, following with clutched against his chest. She had her face buried in his neck, breathing hard. He could feel her small heart hammering against his ribs. You're doing good, he told her. Just hold on. The hallway opened into a courtyard. Bodies lay scattered across the ground, human and alien both. The wall on the north side had a hole blown through it, big enough to drive a vehicle through. Enemy soldiers were pouring through the gap, their weapons firing in sharp bursts of light. Was crouched behind a stack of supply crates, her rifle spitting controlled bursts. She saw them and waved them over. East exit is blocked. We need to go around. Emerged from the smoke, his face blackened with soot. I can clear it. Give me 2 minutes. We don't have 2 minutes, snapped. A plasma bolt hit the crate's nearest head. She flinched back, then returned fire. They're getting closer. Looked around. They were pinned down. The enemy had superior numbers and position. Going around would take too long. Going forward was suicide. But staying here meant death or capture, and he was not letting get captured. He set her down behind the crates next to. Stay here, don't move. Grabbed his arm, her eyes wide with fear. No, don't leave. I'm not leaving, I'm just going to make some space, we'll keep you safe. He looked at, keep her safe. Nodded, her jaw set, with my life. Moved before he could think about it. He stepped out from behind the crates and opened fire. His rifle barked in his hands, steady and controlled. Enemy soldiers scattered, looking for cover. He did not give them time. He advanced, firing and moving, firing and moving. Something changed inside him. His vision sharpened. His movements became fluid, almost automatic. He could see the enemy's positions before they moved, could predict their shots, could feel the rhythm of the battle like a song only he could hear. Behind him whispered, "What the hell?" Did not hear. He was too focused, too locked in. He dropped 2 soldiers, then pivoted and put 3 rounds into an operative trying to flank. His body moved like it knew what to do without his brain giving orders. Within 60 seconds, he had cleared a path to the east corridor. He signaled back to his squad, "Move now." They ran, grabbed and carried her within, providing covering fire, stayed back holding the position. His rifle clicked empty. He dropped the magazine, slammed in a fresh one, and kept firing. A soldier rushed him from the side. Did not panic. He brought his rifle up like a club and smashed it across the soldier's face. The alien went down hard, was already moving past him toward the corridor where his squad had disappeared. He made it 3 steps before something hit him from behind. Not a weapon, a body. He crashed to the ground with an operative on his back, its insect-like limbs trying to pin him down. Its mandibles snapped near his throat. Twisted, throwing his elbow back into where he guessed its face was. The hissed and its grip loosened. Rolled came up with his knife and drove it into the creature's neck joint. It made a gurgling sound and went still. He stumbled to his feet, breathing hard. His entire body was shaking now, the adrenaline starting to fade. He grabbed his rifle and ran toward the corridor. His squad was waiting in the east bunker. It was a small, reinforced room designed to hold 20 people in an emergency. Right now it held about 30, all packed in tight. Pushed through the crowd and found his people in the corner. Was in his arms, her face pale. When she saw, she launched herself at him. He caught her, nearly falling backward from the impact. She was sobbing now, the first real tears he had seen from her. "Thought you were gone. Thought you left me." "Never," he said fiercely. "I will never leave you." Doctor pushed through the crowd. "Let me see him. Are you hurt?" "I'm fine." "You're bleeding." Looked down, she was right. Blood was seeping through his uniform in 2 places, his shoulder and his side. He had not even felt it happen. "It's not bad." Was already pulling out medical supplies. "Sit down before you fall down." While she worked on patching him up, Captain Min addressed the room. His uniform was torn and his face was grim. "The base is lost. We're evacuating to the secondary site 20 kilometers south. Transport is on its way. We hold here until it arrives." "Who were they?" someone asked. "Mixed force and working together. That means someone hired them both. Someone with deep pockets and no loyalty to either side." Min's eyes found. They were after the child. This was a targeted hit. The room went quiet. Everyone turned to look at who was pressed against the side. Some looked confused. Some looked angry. One soldier said what several were probably thinking. "Why are we dying for an alien kid?" Felt flinch, before he could respond, stood up. The quiet sniper rarely spoke in groups, but when he did, people listened. "Because that's what humans do. We protect children, all children. Or did you forget why we're called peacekeepers?" Stood next to him. "She's one of us now. Anyone got a problem with that?" Cracked his knuckles. "Yeah, anyone." The soldier who spoke up looked away. No one else said anything. Captain Min nodded slowly. "We move as one unit. We leave no one behind. That includes her." He looked at. "You good to travel?" "Yes, sir." "Then let's get ready to move. Transport arrives in 10 minutes. Doctor finished bandaging and pulled him aside. "That thing you did out there, in the courtyard, you moved like you could see the future. What happened?" "I don't know. Everything just became clear. Like I knew exactly what to do." Pulled out her medical scanner and ran it over him. Then she scanned. Her expression changed. "Look at this. Your brain wave patterns. When you're near her, they synchronize. Your neural activity increases. Your reaction time improves. She's somehow amplifying your combat instincts. How is that possible? I don't know, but I'd bet anything it has to do with that resonance project her parents were working on. Whatever they discovered, it's active in her, and it responds to you. Looked down at, she was holding his hand, her small fingers wrapped around his larger ones. She makes me stronger. And you make her feel safe. It's a feedback loop, symbiotic. His eyes were bright with realization. This is what they wanted buried, proof that humans can bond like this, can enhance each other. If this became public knowledge, it would change everything. Outside the bunker, engines rumbled. The transport had arrived. Captain Min stood. Let's move, people. Stay together and stay smart. We've got a long night ahead. They filed out of the bunker into the smoke-filled darkness. Behind them, the base burned. Ahead, the unknown waited. And somewhere in the shadows, people who wanted dead were watching. But was done running, done hiding. Whatever came next, he would face it head-on, because that was what humans did. They protected their own. The transport never made it to the secondary base. It got hit by anti-aircraft fire 10 kilometers out and crashed in the jungle. Woke up hanging upside down in his harness, ears ringing, tasting blood. Around him, others were groaning or screaming or silent. He found the release catch and dropped to the ceiling, which was now the floor. Pain shot through his ribs. He ignored it and looked around. A small voice answered from nearby, "Here." She was still strapped in her seat, which had somehow stayed intact. Pulled her free and checked her over. A few bruises, but nothing broken. Tough kid. He set her down and moved through the wreckage, checking survivors. Was conscious, bleeding from a head wound. Was trapped under a fallen support beam. Was already working to lift it, his face red with effort. Captain Min was dead, his neck broken by the impact. So were half the others. Doctor appeared from the back of the transport, her medical bag in hand. "We need to move. That crash will draw attention." "Where do we go?" asked once they got her free. She was limping but could walk. Pulled out his navigation device. The screen was cracked but still working. "Sanctuary Prime, the human embassy. It's 300 kilometers east, but it's neutral ground. They can't touch her there." 300 kilometers through hostile territory, said quietly, with injured people and a child. "You have a better idea." Shook his head. They gathered what supplies they could from the wreck. Weapons, ammunition, food, water, medical supplies. Not enough of anything, but better than nothing. 14 people had survived the crash. His squad and 9 other soldiers. They moved out within 30 minutes, heading east into the thick jungle. The first day was the hardest. They were all hurting, all exhausted, all scared. The jungle was dense and hot, full of things that buzzed and bit. Carried on his shoulders when she got tired, which was often. She did not complain, just held on tight and watched the trees pass by. That night they made camp in a small clearing. No fire, too dangerous. They ate cold rations and took turns on watch. Sat with while she ate, making sure she finished her food. "Why are they hunting me?" she asked suddenly. It was the first real question she had asked about the situation. Thought about lying. Decided she deserved the truth. "Because you know something they don't want others to know. Something about what your parents were working on." "The Resonance Project." He went still. "You know about it." "I heard them talking before they died. They said humans are connected, special, that together we could do amazing things." Her large eyes looked up at him. "Is that why you feel like home, because we're connected?" "Maybe, Doctor thinks so. I don't understand the science, but I know what I feel. When I'm with you, I'm not scared. When I'm not with you, I am." She leaned against his side. "Don't let them take me away from you." "I won't," he promised, "ever." The second day brought rain. Cold, heavy rain that soaked through their clothes and made every step slippery. They pushed through it, moving in single file through the mud. One soldier, a young man named, stepped wrong and fell into a ravine. They spent 2 hours getting him out. His leg was broken, splinted it, but he could not walk. Made a stretcher from branches and cloth. He and another soldier carried between them. It slowed them down even more. The third day, they hit territory. They were crossing an open field when plasma fire erupted from the tree line. Everyone scattered, grabbed and rolled behind a rock, covering her body with his. "Contact right," someone yelled. The firefight lasted 5 minutes but felt like an hour. When it was over, they had lost 2 more people and most of their ammunition. They ran, crashing through the jungle with the pursuing. Felt that strange clarity come over him again. The world sharpened. His body moved without thought. He could hear her breathing against his back where she clung to him, could feel her fear mixing with something else. Trust, belief, that feedback loop Doctor talked about. He turned and fired blind into the jungle. Hit 2 he should not have been able to see. Spun and shot a third that was flanking. Moved like water, like air, like something more than human. When they finally lost the pursuit, his hands were shaking. His vision blurred. He had to sit down before he fell down. Appeared next to him, her scanner out. "Your neural activity is off the charts. Heart rate at 160. You're burning through energy faster than your body can supply it. You need to rest." "Can't rest, they're still following." "They'll catch us anyway if you collapse. 10 minutes, that's all I'm asking." Nodded, climbed into his lap and pressed her face against his neck. "You saved us again." "That's my job." "No, your job was peacekeeper. This is different. This is family." His throat closed up. He wrapped his arms around her and held on. They kept moving. Days blurred together. They crossed rivers and climbed hills and hid from patrols. They ran out of food, ran out of medicine, ran out of hope, some of them, though they did not say it out loud. Started teaching to carve while they walked. Simple things at first, then more complex. She was a quick learner, her small hands surprisingly skilled. Taught her earth songs, silly ones that made her laugh. Showed her card tricks that made no sense but she loved anyway. The squad adopted her. She became their purpose, their reason to keep going. They were not fighting for territory or politics anymore. They were fighting for one small life, and that made all the difference. On the 8th day, they reached the Great Bridge. It was an old structure built by some long-dead civilization. It stretched across a massive canyon, 500 meters of ancient stone and hope. On the other side was Sanctuary Prime's territory. Safety. They were halfway across when the enemy found them. Soldiers appeared on both ends of the bridge, not regular military. These wore unmarked armor, carried expensive weapons, mercenaries. The leader stepped forward, her movements graceful and deadly. Her voice came through their translators, cold and clear. "Surrender the child, the rest of you can live." Counted the enemies, 12 on their end, 8 on the far end. His group had 5 soldiers still combat capable. No ammunition to spare, no room to maneuver. It was over. He felt small hands slip into his, looked down at her. She was not crying, not scared. She looked determined. "Together?" she asked quietly. He understood what she was asking, could feel it building between them, that strange connection, that resonance. She was offering him everything she had, all her strength, all her trust, all her hope. And in return, she was asking him to do the impossible. "Together," he agreed. The world exploded into clarity, not just his vision this time, everything. He could feel his squad's positions without looking, could sense the enemy's movements, could see the battlefield like a living map in his mind. And his squad felt it too. They moved as one without speaking. Shot took out the far group's leader before she could react. Disabled 2 more with precise bursts, charged forward with a roar, his empty rifle swinging like a club. Moved through the chaos like a dancer, every step perfect, every shot counting. The enemy soldiers tried to adapt, but they were fighting something they did not understand. Not just one soldier. An entire unit synchronized, working as a single entity at its heart. The battle lasted 90 seconds. When it was over, the bridge was clear. The enemy soldiers were down, and squads stood breathing hard, staring at each other in disbelief. "What just happened?" whispered. "We won," said, laughing. Then louder, "We actually won." They crossed the bridge. On the far side, Sanctuary Prime's border patrol was waiting. The officer in charge took one look at them, bloody and exhausted and victorious, and said, "Welcome to neutral ground. You're safe now." Looked down at, she smiled up at him, tired but happy. "Home?" she asked. "Home," he confirmed. They had made it. Against all odds, they had made it. But the fight was not over, not yet. The human embassy on Sanctuary Prime was nothing like the military base. It was clean and bright, with real beds and hot showers and food that did not come from sealed pouches. Barely noticed. He spent the first 2 days sleeping, his body finally giving in to exhaustion. When he woke, was curled up next to him, watching him with those large dark eyes. "You were making sounds, bad dreams." "Something like that." He sat up, wincing at the pull of healing wounds. "How long was I out?" 2 days. Doctor said you needed it. She said you pushed too hard," tilted her head. "She's worried about you." "I'm fine." "That's what you always say," but she smiled a little. The embassy doctor cleared them both medically, though he gave a lecture about stress and pushing human limits. Then they were called to meet with the ambassador. Her name was Ambassador, an older woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. She listened while explained everything. The massacre, the resonance project, the attacks, the journey. She did not interrupt once. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "This is bigger than one child," she finally said. "This is about the relationship between two species. If what you're saying is true, if humans and can truly bond like this, it changes everything we thought we knew about our place in the galaxy." "Does that mean you'll grant her asylum?" asked. "It means I need to make sure she's safe while we figure out what comes next. Yes, she has asylum. No one can touch her here." Ambassador looked at. "But you understand there will be consequences. The government will demand answers. They will demand answers. Everyone will want to know about this resonance project." Spoke up, her voice small but clear. "My parents wanted peace. They found proof that fighting was stupid, that we're better together." She looked at. "They were right." The ambassador nodded slowly. "Perhaps they were. I'll contact the government. Open channels for dialogue. But I want you both to stay here in the embassy compound until we know it's safe." That was fine with. He had nowhere else to go anyway. The news spread fast. Within a week, every major outlet in the galaxy was running stories about the human soldier and the child. Some called it a miracle. Some called it propaganda. Some called it the start of a new era. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. They wanted answers about the Resonance Project and what it meant for relations. They wanted to testify. He did not want to go, did not want to stand in front of aliens and politicians and explain why he did what he did. But Ambassador convinced him. "Your voice matters. What you have to say could change minds." So he went, wanted to come with him, but they agreed it was safer for her to stay at the embassy. She made him promise to come back. "Always," he told her. The Galactic Council chamber was massive. Hundreds of representatives from dozens of species, all watching as walked to the center platform. He felt very small and very human in that moment. A tall alien with too many limbs spoke first. "Corporal, you have caused quite a disruption. Tell us why we should care about one child." Took a breath. "Because she's one child. If we can't protect one child, what's the point of any of this?" He gestured at the chamber. "You talk about peace and cooperation, but when it came down to it, you all watched while someone tried to murder her. Only humans stepped up. Only humans said, 'No, this is wrong.'" Humans are biologically predisposed to bond with another alien said. Your actions were chemically driven, not morally motivated. So what does it matter why we did it? We still did it. We still chose to protect her when everyone else chose to look away. Felt anger building. You know what I learned out there? I learned that didn't cling to me because of pheromones or biology. She clung to me because she was scared and alone and needed someone to care. That's not science. That's not chemistry. That's just being alive. The chamber was silent. A representative stood. Her skin was deep blue, her movements graceful. The human speaks truth. We have examined the Resonance Project data. What the child's parents discovered was not a weapon or a tool. It was a bridge. Proof that some species are meant to work together. That cooperation makes us stronger than conflict ever could. This could change everything, a human representative added. Formal alliance between humans and joint military operations, combined colonies, we could reshape the power balance of this entire region. Shook his head. With respect, that's not what this is about. This isn't about power or politics. It's about one small girl who lost everything and found hope anyway. It's about choosing to be kind when being cruel is easier. It's about looking at someone different from you and deciding they matter anyway. He turned to address the entire chamber. You can debate the science all you want, but at the end of the day, the question is simple. Are we going to be the kind of species that protects children or the kind that lets them die for convenience? Because I already know what humans are. We're the ones who show up when no one else will. We're the ones who stand between the darkness and the innocent. That's what makes us human, not strength or intelligence or technology. Just the stubborn, irrational refusal to let bad things happen when we can stop them. He finished and stood there, breathing hard, expecting arguments or dismissal. Instead, slow applause started, then more. Then the entire chamber was applauding, though he was not sure what for. The council voted. By a significant majority, they recognized asylum and approved formal talks between human and governments about alliance and cooperation. It was not everything, but it was a start. When Return to the embassy was waiting by the door, she ran to him and he caught her, lifting her up. How did it go? Good, better than good, we won. We always win, she said confidently, because we're together. Over the next months, things moved fast. Humanity and the signed cooperation agreements, joint research programs, cultural exchanges, the beginning of something that could become a real alliance. But was not interested in politics anymore. He filed for retirement from the military and started the adoption process. There was paperwork and hearings and so many questions, but Ambassador helped navigate it all. Finally, 9 months after finding in the ruins, the adoption was approved. She was officially his daughter now, not by biology but by choice. They moved to a colony world called New Haven, where humans and were building a mixed settlement. It was small and rough and beautiful. Got a job as a security consultant. Nothing fancy, but it paid the bills. Started school. She learned both human and history, spoke 3 languages, and had friends from 2 species. She was happy. That was all that mattered. Sometimes at night, she still had bad dreams, and when she did, would hold her and sing old lullabies until she fell back asleep. She would press her face against his shoulder and breathe deep. "You still smell like home," she would whisper. And every time, his heart would ache and swell at the same time. The galaxy had not become perfect. They were still hostile. Other species still looked at humans and with suspicion. Peace was fragile and incomplete. But it was more than it had been before. And it started with one small alien girl clinging to one human soldier and refusing to let go. Years later, would grow up to become a bridge between species, just like her parents had hoped. She would work for peace and understanding, would show the galaxy what cooperation could look like when people chose love over fear. But that was the future. For now, she was just a child sitting on her father's lap while he read her stories. She was safe and loved and home. and looked at her, this small miracle who had changed everything, and thought about how lucky he was. He had failed once before, could not save his sister from the flames, but he had been given a second chance. A chance to protect, to love, to be the person he needed to be. "What are you thinking about?" asked, looking up from her book. "That I'm glad I found you," he said honestly, "or that you found me, however it happened." She smiled. "I knew you were safe the moment I smelled you. My instincts told me to trust you." "And were your instincts right?" "Always," she hugged him tight. "You're my home, you always will be." Outside, the sun was setting over New Haven. Human children played with children in the streets. Two species that had been strangers were becoming family, learning that differences could be bridges instead of walls. It was not perfect, but it was hope. And sometimes, hope was enough to change the world. One stubborn human and one small alien child at a time. That was the truth of it, the lesson that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their tactics. It was their capacity to care. To look at someone small and scared and different and say without hesitation, "I will protect you. I will keep you safe. I will be your home." That was what made humanity extraordinary. That was what the galaxy would learn to respect and, eventually, to emulate. And it all started with a small alien girl clinging to a human soldier and claiming he smelled like home. Because in the end, that was what home really meant. Not a place or a planet or a species. Home was wherever someone chose to protect you, to stand with you, to refuse to let you face the universe alone. That was humanity's gift to the stars, and it was enough.